Okay, so this is Countdown Lab 2.3 Countdown Part 3. I'm going to try to, we're going to talk about the main function. So the second piece after you've made the countdown function is now we're going to make a main function. And inside the main function, we're going to use a loop and a half structure to continually ask the user for a number. And whenever the user enters in the number, we're going to use the countdown function and print the countdown function out. The computer should only stop asking the user for a number when the user enters a Q instead of a number. If the user enters anything other than a number, the program should handle that potential exception. So if they tried to enter the letters TWO, or they tried to type in like if they tried to type in 11 instead of the number 11, then we would want to know, or we'd want to know that, hey, that was not a number. We'll print out a little error message to the screen, and then we ask them to start a number again or enter a number again. So we're going to go ahead and write this. Again, we're going to use a loop and a half structure. So it's going to be a while loop, and we'll keep asking them for an entry, and I'll show you an example of how to handle that exception in case that happens, or in case they enter something that can't be cast as an integer. Okay? Great. Okay. So let's start with the loop and a half structure. A loop and a half structure is an infinite loop, right? While true, and now we want to make, as soon as this while true happens, we want to make a way for it to break, right? We want this infinite loop to have an opportunity to break. So I'm going to skip a couple lines, and I'm just going to make the condition that it would break. Okay, so we want to think about like if the user input, if they enter a Q, right? So maybe we want to take our user input first. So they're going to enter in a number, so I'm going to call it n. N equals input, and inside the input I'm going to give a prompt, and the prompt is just going to say exactly what it says in the README. So enter a number, Q to quit. Enter a number, Q to quit, something to that effect, and I'll put a little colon at the end and maybe a space. Okay. Now, so they're going to enter in a number. Right away, the type of data that they're inputting from the keyboard is always a string. So input always takes in string data, and I'm going to say if n equals the letter Q, break. Right away, we have a way for us to stop the loop so that they stop entering in numbers. Okay. Otherwise, if they didn't enter a Q, we're going to cast whatever they entered in. So n equals int of n. Okay, so I'm going to cast the user input as an int. Okay, now that's kind of the place where we might get an error. So we're going to go back and fix that in a minute. But for now, we're going to go countdown, and instead of num, we're going to call our function that we wrote earlier with n, the input that the user just typed in. All right, so let's give it a shot. We'll run it. Enter a number, Q to quit. So let's just try it with 4. We've done that one before. Looks great. 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter a number, Q to quit. We could put in a 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, vertical and horizontal. Looks beautiful. We could put in a 7, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It works in both directions. This looks beautiful. Okay. We want to check to see if Q to quit works. Okay. So if I do Q to quit, program ends and it looks beautiful. The problem might be if somebody did like 3. Works great if they enter in the number 3. But if they type in the word 3, Python doesn't know how to take care of that, right? When I try to cast in the letters THREE, it's going to give me this invalid literal. I'm trying to cast this as an int, so we got a value error. So what we want to do is we want to make a try and accept that will accept this value error and just, instead of crashing, tell the user, hey, that wasn't the right thing to do. Try again and send it back up to the top. So in my else clause, I'm going to start by doing try. I'm going to try to do this stuff, right? So I'm going to try to cast the user's input as an integer. And then if this error, this value error that we just saw occurs, I'm going to use an accept. So I'm going to accept a value error, the exact one that I just saw pop up over here. Okay, so I'm going to accept value error. Now, if it accepts a value error, I'm going to print an error message and say invalid. Oh, let's check to see what the markdown said to put in. Sorry, that was not a number. Okay, so I'm going to say sorry, that was not a number. So I print out this little nice error message that any user can understand, even if they're not a developer, right? Not your common everyday user isn't going to want to see an error like this. So we print out this error message, and then what we want it to do is we want it to go back up to the top of the loop and try again. So we're going to use the continue command, which tells it, okay, we got this value error. I want you to go back up to the top of the loop and start again. That makes them get the input again, and then it checks to see if they did Q, and then again tries to cast that value. So let's give it a shot. Let's go 4, 2, the number TWO. Sorry, that was not a number. Enter a number 6. We could do something like 3.14, and it's sorry, that was not a number either, right? It's an invalid entry. So it kind of repeats and makes them do it over and over and over again. Eventually, I hit Q to quit, and my program ends. I hope that helps with Countdown.